open up Architectural Board of Review for July 8th, 2024, and we will begin with roll call.
Thank you. I'll proceed with roll call. Chair Anderson.
Here.
Vice Chair Whalen.
Here.
Board Member Anderson. Here. Board Member Black.
Here.
Board Member Noon.
Here.
Board Member Six.
Here.
Board Member Sovereign.
Here.
We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move to general business, item A, public comment. So any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not scheduled on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. And I will, if anyone wishes to make a general public comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual comment. And I do not have any hands raised on virtual general public comment. And we did receive a correspondence on general public comment from a Mr. Michael Holland. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thanks. We will close public comment. Should we talk about that now? Okay.
And
Staff.
Chair Anderson, yes, regarding the public comment received for the project at 730 Miramonte, that project received project design approval and final approval by ABR on July 18th, 2022, and staff confirmed that all approvals were appropriately granted. There was a review after final that was administratively approved for the project, and that scope of work was limited to an existing telephone pole that was originally to be removed, but then when it got to the building permit phase, they realized that it needed to remain. So there was no changes to the wireless facility itself that was approved, no changes in height or anything to the wireless facility. So it qualified for administrative approval because it was limited to an existing condition that was to remain. So just wanted to clarify that. If the board has questions, feel free to follow up.
Okay. Do any members of the board have questions regarding this project for staff? Further questions? Okay. Thank you for the clarification. We will move on to the approval of the minutes from the meeting on June 24th.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. We are going to start with the consent minutes of June 24th. And just a reminder that we already ratified the actions taken. We are now going to approve the minutes.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay, we'll vote. Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen.
Yes.
Board Member Anderson.
Well, I guess I'm abstaining from this one since
Yeah, hit your mic from.
Okay.
The-
Board Member Black.
Yes.
Board Member Noon.
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Okay, so we'll move on to the regular minutes.
I just need to clarify something from staff. We make our corrections and comments at the time of the ratification, and then later at the approval, we just approve, correct?
Board Member Six, it would be the other way around. So the day of the consent hearing, you're just ratifying the action, and then the next full board hearing is your chance to review and make any edits and approve the minutes.
So we make at approval
Correct.
instead of the earlier ratification?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And to the board members, I have the full board minutes on the screen from the 24th. So those, I'll scroll through and then move to approve them.
So again, we're ratifying today?
We will be ratifying the actions of the consent agenda today, correct?
So it's just the consent items because they're non-published?
Correct.
correct.
The consent hearing that it happens the same day as the full board hearings, the change to that is that we are now only ratifying the actions. We're not reviewing and approving those minutes. So right now, we're looking at the full board minutes from June 24th,
there's
and
no-
then next we'll be ratifying the actions of the July 8th consent hearing.
So there's no double step with the full board?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
You'll second?
Second.
Oh,
Under discussion.
sure.
So on the motion, on number 8, what I was trying to say, and it would be better read if we took out the words "now present boxed eaves," and then at the end say, comma, perhaps other than the boxed eaves. So I wasn't excited about the boxed eaves. And then on number 10, it's a very confusing sentence, so I would say provide cover, then cross out everything until if the trash enclosure remains at the present location, comma, or provide other ways to move the trash away from the living spaces.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Abstain.
Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, thanks. Let's move to the ratification of action taken for today's consent calendar agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. So I will go ahead and announce the action taken today for the July 8th consent calendar. Item 1, 501 Garden Street. The project received final approval with conditions. Item 2, 920 Summit Road. The project received project design approval and final approval with conditions. Item 3 was continued indefinitely. And item 3, 824 Haley Street was continued indefinitely, and item 3, 214 West Gutierrez Street was postponed indefinitely.
I'll make a motion for ratification.
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Let's move on to item D, any announcements or requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals?
Chair Anderson, one staff announcement. I'd like to welcome our newest ABR member, Trey Anderson. So now we have 2 Andersons on the
Yes.
board.
Love it.
Trey is a licensed architect, and we are very glad to have him join us on the board.
Great, thank you. Thanks for being here.
You may want to get his name on the agenda here.
Will do.
Anderside, nice. Awesome. Any other announcements from staff? Nope, not, okay. Any subcommittee reports? Okay, let's move on to item 1. It says it's a new item for project design approval. 515 West Los Olivos Street. It's a proposal to demolish the existing 1,052 square foot single-family residence and 152 square foot detached accessory building and construct a three-unit, 2-story building and a 22-unit, 3-story building with 0 vehicle parking spaces and 9 bicycle parking spaces on a 12,640 square foot lot. The 25-unit development is proposed to be 20% rent restricted by providing 5 low-income units. The project is proposed under Builder's Remedy. A previous version of the project was granted project design approval by ABR on January 23rd, 2023. Project design approval is requested. Project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines. And I believe staff may have a comment.
Yes, thank you, Chair Anderson. So just for some background on this project, it was previously reviewed and approved by your board as a previous version of the project in different application. And the previous project was for 6 units, and that application was withdrawn, and then it was resubmitted as a builder's remedy project proposing 25 units. And the footprint is nearly identical along with the mass, bulk, and scale and to the previous project that received project design approval. So I just wanted to clarify that this is a new application for the new 25 units, and it is here today for project design approval. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the board for staff before we?
Yes, I have a few. So, first of all, we gave it project design approval, not final, correct?
Correct.
So, this seems like a rubber stamp for PDA, but will we see if we have comments? Well, I guess I'll back up. How limited are we on the scope of our comments from our previous PDA?
Since this is a new application, the comments from the previous project design approval, those don't transfer over to this new application. So
Okay,
you could
so
make those again. today.
Perhaps the real question is, how limited are our scope of comments given this in relationship to the quote on builder's remedy project?
Chair Anderson, Board Member 6, Tave Ostringer, Assistant City Attorney. So because this is a builder's remedy project, it's not subject to the city's zoning and general plan compliance requirements. So you are fairly limited in what you can do with this project. So it will require, the only way it can not be approved is if there's some health and safety issues that can't be mitigated. But you are welcome to give your comments.
Will we, if we have a suggestion that's meaningful, could we, well, first of all, can we grant final today?
No, it hasn't been agendized for final.
Okay, thank you. So if we had a comment that would be generously received by the applicant, he may take it and perhaps revise the plans before final? And will that will that upset the process of the builder's remedy process?
If the applicant's amenable to the changes, then it would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
I have a question. According to my count, this is the 4th time this address, this parcel has come before the board. And I see it agendized for PDA. Why is it not conceptual, since this seems like, although it looks remarkably similar, seems like a completely different project?
Thank you, Vice Chair Whalen. Concept review is optional. The applicant is not required to come for a concept review.
And Chair Anderson and Board Member Whalen, or Vice Chair Whalen. Yeah, sorry. The project is, while it's different in the number of units, this board is really just looking at the aesthetics of the project, which haven't significantly changed.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, well, welcome back. You'll have 15 minutes to present the projects, maybe focus on the things that changed from the last time we saw it, but introduce yourselves.
Okay,
and
I'm
go
Chuck
ahead.
McClure. I'm the landscape architect, and this is Steve Johnson, the owner. And I'm not going to comment on architecture, but I'll just kind of run through the drawings.
Okay.
Can we get it up? Is it, oh, there we go. Okay, so, do you want to describe this?
Speak into the microphone, please.
Nor will I comment on architecture, simply going to display the plans, and as Board Member 6 mentioned, I'm open to suggestions.
Let's see. I'm having trouble here.
If you hit the minus sign at the top, there's a minus and plus sign.
Okay.
That'll zoom back out.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's our survey. Whoops. So survey. Let's see. And what is that, Steve? Is that
So
this is
revised
basic
site plan.
Site plan. So there's an existing building in the front. Is that still, or you were going to tear that down? Or is that an existing building in the front? Or is that a,
It's a new.
there was a building there and it's going to
There's
be.
a house currently, but it will be demolished and a new structure. So
And-
it consists of a structure in front and a larger structure in the rear.
Yeah, so the building in the front, what is an existing home, will be torn down and rebuilt, and then there's a new building in the back. And then, let's see. Site photos. There's the building in the front. Let's see, there's some adjacent buildings. Neighborhood. My plan. So the landscape plan, I don't believe there was much controversy on this. It was refined 3 times as we came before the board and came back. So if you have any questions, please feel free. First floor plan.
I'll just mention that the significant change here was instead of parking on the ground level, it's now 9 studio units plus some bicycle parking plus a laundry room.
So before it was an elevated building with parking under, now there's no parking and there's more units below. And then second floor plan, looks like 4 much larger units.
Right, I don't think they're that especially much larger, certainly not as large as the previous units.
Was that roof plan or third floor plan? So it's third floor and elevations. The building, back elevation, front.
I'll just note that the elevations are identical other than the enclosure of the parking area. Someone may have noted we relocated the trash area as well.
So it used to be on the south property line area to the right of the driveway is coming in, but now since there's not really a driveway.
Can you point us to that on the site plan?
Yeah. Before, there was trash right over in this area, and now it's been moved over to behind the
Correct.
lower, the single-family home in the front. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We will now open public comment for this item. So anyone who wishes to speak?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. If anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so. We will turn our attention to virtual comment. And at this time, I have no hands raised for virtual comment on this particular item. And we did receive a written letter from a Mr. Steve Johnson on this particular item. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thanks. We will close public comment for this item and move to questions from the board. So Board Member 6, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you, Chair Anderson. Anderson 1. I noticed that both side property lines have a 6-foot setback, both the north and the south. And I realize the logic, if the garages were there before, it would behoove you to move the building down sheet in order to gather a 10-foot setback for the entries at the north, and then only a 6-foot setback for the garage itself. But now that we have both entries, both sides entries, is there any reason why that south property, you couldn't move the building 2 feet in order to balance the space and frontage to all those side units?
I don't think the side setbacks are much less than 9 feet. In fact, I believe they're 9 feet or 10 feet. I don't believe the side setbacks have changed.
It says on the blue diagram.
And that's possibly an error that needs to be picked up in the next round.
Well, I think there's a sheet that obviously says that both north ends, up sheet and down sheet, setbacks are 6.
Well, the sheet I'm looking at shows clearly 10-foot setback.
That's not a setback. There's
Well,
another sheet that shows the setbacks.
Well, then that's an inconsistency that needs to be picked up at some point.
Well, okay, so there's no reason that you could not suck up against, move the building. Well, that's a comment, so there's no reason.
There is a reason for not changing the position of the large rear building. It has to do with fire egress. We need the width that should be properly shown, I think 10 feet along the north side. It can be made wider, but then that would decrease the.
So you
available
are
space on the
saying that
south.
there are criteria that it has to be greater than 6 feet on the north side?
It has to be at least 10 feet wide on the north side to meet fire egress requirements.
Okay. Is there any reason that I know there's a tree in the south back rear property line, but is there any reason that the building in its whole cannot be pushed back further? I'm suggesting that if it was pushed back further, there'd be more space between the front building and the main building in order to accommodate more bike parking.
I got a strong recommendation from the arborist to avoid getting any closer to that large oak than necessary. That was the main reason for the placement. Also, at one point, the rear portion was contemplated as a common open yard.
I understand that.
And it will still serve that purpose for the ground floor units, which don't have private. It's a remedy project, so the private open space is not required, but, and it's called private outdoor space, but in fact, they will most likely use that large back area for their outdoor space.
Okay, has an arborist said that this is the absolute minimum as he studied the
He didn't
tree
give me an
structure?
exact number.
He hasn't studied the root structure and so forth, correct?
I think the general concept is the tree line, the drip line of the tree.
All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I have one more question for staff. This project is totally without cars, so the main mode of transportation for these individuals will be electric bikes, and I noticed that there's only 9 bike spaces for 25 units. Is there any limit or regulation that says how many bikes for a project without any parking? Is there any regulations on adequate bike parking and how it's arranged and how it flows?
Chair Anderson, Board Member 6, because this is a builder's remedy project, we can't apply any standard bike space zoning regulations like we typically would
Vice Chair Whalen?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Again, tearing off Member Six's comment to staff, is there any way, or to Mr. Johnson, is there any way of knowing the number of bed spaces or residents that will occupy this building?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, even if this wasn't a builder's remedy, that's not something that we could regulate outside of the city's purview.
Okay.
So,
I think it's outside of our purview, unfortunately.
All right. Well, it was related to the bike question, but thank you. Let's see. On this, I notice on the north side of the building, Mr. McClure, there are small red squares that have hash marks in them. What
Right.
are
Well,
those?
Those are the columns for the building, aren't they?
Yes.
That's how these columns hit the ground.
So it isn't really a 10-foot setback. Those are within the 10 feet.
Correct. But
Or is that a revision that hasn't been made?
no,
But they don't occur.
fire marshal has reviewed it and found it to be acceptable, meet their standards. Apparently, the 10 feet doesn't have to be completely open. At least the fire marshal found that acceptable. If that turns out not to be the case when I get to building, then the decks above, balconies above will be supported through some kind of cantilever as opposed to a
Right.
post.
Okay. So that might account why they don't show up on this plan and they do on the other plan,
On the landscape plan?
just because that final decision hasn't really been set.
That would be my excuse, yes.
Okay, I like that.
Vice
If-
Chair Whalen and Chair Anderson, if I could make a quick comment to the applicant, I would recommend showing sheet 3 of the set, PDF page 3, sheet S2, as that shows the
I see.
setbacks more clearly.
Oh, I see.
Sure. Well, as long as you're navigating, if you go, your image number 10, sheet A5, another small
Sure.
question. On that back elevation, you show a couple of curious dimensions there in red. What are they telling us? One says .7, what is
Yeah, it
that?
must be some sort of a drafting error by the building designers. 0.77 inches is not,
Yeah,
That's clearly a flaw.
yeah.
okay, that's what we like to hear. Let's see, and then, Mr. McClure, again, if you could go to your landscape plan, I believe right there on the upper left corner, don't
Oh,
fade out.
okay.
There's a trapezoid,
Oh,
that one. Is that a
thing.
paver?
Yeah, just a paver
Okay.
step to get you off
Thank
the
you.
sidewalk.
Those are all my questions, thank you.
Board Member Black?
Could you go to the front elevation, the colored elevation?
Let's see, here we
Can I
are.
enlarge that?
Oops. Oh, brother. Okay, excuse me.
So when I look at that front elevation, am I seeing two red front doors?
Yes.
It appears that way. But when I look at the floor plan, there's only one door that faces the street. So I question whether, in fact, this is an accurate representation of what the front elevation is.
I think that's not. This is showing let me just see if I understand. Are we looking at the front elevation of the rear building?
Oh, is that it? Sorry.
That's what it is.
Okay, I'm confused.
That's not the front building.
Got it. Is there,
It's the front elevation of the rear building.
is there a front elevation of the
Appears
front
not.
building?
Appears not. There's only one sheet that shows elevations, and this is the front
on
building,
the-
but that's the south elevation. I
Correct.
believe.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, since that's just one we'll see on the street.
There used to be a front elevation
It's on
in the
the
previous
I
design.
think it's on the front
I
sheet, but
suspect that page got dropped.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, it's unfortunate because I would have liked to see what it looks like from the
I
street.
do apologize for that. That's a grievous error.
No other questions from me?
Can you go to your cover sheet? I think there is a elevation.
Oh, duh.
Cover sheet does have
Ah.
something.
So,
I did see that, yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Do you have
excuse
any
me.
other questions about the?
I'm pretty not very with it today.
Does that represent?
Yeah, that's the front.
Okay. With the front door and then there's a,
Yeah, craftsman-y thing.
okay, I'm good.
Board
Thank
Member
you.
Noon?
Just a couple quick ones. Usually at this PDA phase, we look at privacy issues to other properties. I didn't see any relation to any elevations where the other buildings, kind of an overlay of how the other buildings would.
Right, to the north, we have a driveway. You can see the curb cut there at the upper left corner of the drawing. And so that whole area along and the blue dash circles are the trees on the other side of the property line. So that's a driveway, and their big, large apartment building is above the title block perimeter.
Fair amount of distance between.
Yeah, and then you can see it on the same situation occurs on the south side. You can see that curb cut there too.
Okay.
Driveway, so it's
Okay.
building, driveway, building, driveway, building.
And I don't remember, we may have looked at that in the last PDA, and you said that the two upper floors haven't really changed. I assume openings maybe changed, windows.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And maybe the other board members wouldn't be concerned, so I won't belabor that one. Can you, we're on the site plan, can you just go through the typical screening items that we would see on a site plan, transformers, backflow preventers?
We have not gotten into the final working drawings yet, so we don't have backflow, we don't have irrigation. We just have the planting plan. So we've been talking with the neighbors to the north, and I proposed trees along that same north property line to fill in each one of these openings, and they didn't want that because they have paving right there, and actually there's just really not very much space, so they weren't concerned about this new building because of the trees that they have. And on the south, we have, proposed these, the Calistman viminalis, 4 of them, and then that's an existing oak, and so that's kind of our screening on the north and south side.
But other on-site items, transformers, backflow preventer, are we locating those?
Well, certainly the irrigation backflow preventer will be screened per my drawing, but I don't have any control over the civil.
It's not been
and
located
the,
yet.
Sprinklering, if there is any, or fire sprinkler backflow, I know can get quite large.
A good,
But we'll have to take that
good
into
point.
account.
You still got technically one more round to review it final.
We'll have to tuck it in somewhere, but I'll make a note, certainly.
Reminder to the applicants to please speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Will do.
Those are my questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
Board Member Soffren?
Yeah, forgive me, but how many units were previously approved and how many are we going for now? What's the difference?
Previously approved 6 units, currently 25 units,
Okay.
but it's essentially identical building envelope.
So I'm just curious because I think you guys are saying that the trash enclosure is a new trash enclosure. And I'm just curious, like, are those enough trash cans? Is that an accurate representation of the amount of trash cans that would be needed for 25 residential units?
Yes, and I can attest to that based on personal experience with a similar project, similar number of units, similar number of occupants. If I may be given a little leeway here just to mention that the envelope and size is essentially identical. What's been given up is some parking in exchange for more units, and the units are much smaller, for a little over 400 square foot average. This is exactly what the state of California is encouraging. I don't need a builder's remedy to do
He's just asking if you have the correct number of trash cans.
Yes, I do, and I was trying to get on my soapbox, but
I know.
I'll step off.
Do you have any other questions?
I'm just curious of the city, is there some sort of guideline? Because it just,
There is a guideline.
for,
Yes.
okay.
And I'm
Solid
assuming they
waste.
still have
And-
to follow that.
It was reviewed by Environmental Services, and they deemed it complete for their receptacles.
Thank you.
And it's comparable to the number of trash receptacles that were in the original plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Anderson, do you have any questions?
Yes. I don't know the whole history and the genesis of the design, but from what I'm hearing, your ground floor has been, I guess, redesigned as residential spaces. And so I think one question I have looking at this project starting out is, what exactly is the context? I think that echoes what you're saying, Steve, about understanding the relationship to the neighbors and the street frontage. And I think that could be shown in the elevations with some sort of ghosted massing of the neighbors or on a site plan. And I think that this, we kind of do need a site plan in these drawings in a way, even though we have the planting plan. I am curious what the materiality of the facade on the ground level is. I guess it's brown, but besides brown, I'm curious, is it plaster, or what is the thinking about the treatment of that? Because that is the primary elevation in terms of the experience of the space. And I can feel that it, in my opinion, feels a little undercooked on the development of the elevation on the ground level. If you look at this one and you zoom in, it feels like it kind of wants to be of the earth and somehow relating to the landscape, because there's a lot of landscape, and that's nice. But what exactly this is in terms of a material and what the story is in relation to the landscape, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
What you see now is a kind of a 3D representation of the front elevation. And that same character will be expressed in the rear building as well. Was there some question about what you see with this image of the front elevation?
Yeah, is it plaster?
Yeah, can you just run us through the materials? He's asking what exterior materials you're
It
using.
appears to be plaster on the bottom, and then wood or a hardy board siding on the top.
That is correct.
Okay, and so like there's a footing under the building where all those plants are, and so that plaster is going to meet a drip edge, and we're going to see that. And you've got stone on the base of the columns there. So I think there's opportunity to potentially develop the elevation on the ground level so that it's a little bit, I guess, more interesting how the building meets the ground. The other question I have is, in this view, it seems like you access this kind of front veranda off the primary driveway. And then when I look at the site plan, is that what's also being shown here? If you zoom out a little.
Let's see. Oops. There's a
So,
walkway coming in from the sidewalk to the north, and it picks up that front patio porch.
but
covered
that
porch.
is different than the
Yeah.
rendering, right?
We-
Okay.
We don't, I have to admit, the drawings need to be updated. And we really, since the cars went away, we can have more landscape. We don't need this full driveway width. So there's some changes to be
We
made.
do need the full driveway, according to the fire department.
Okay.
And that's for fire access, or that's for defensible space?
For fire access, the fire truck has to get sufficiently close to the rear building so that 150 feet fire hose can get to the farthest point.
Okay. So, okay. Another question I have is, so there's more space to be conditioned, right? Because you have more occupied living units on ground level. So do you have a understanding of the systems for this? Like, are there going to be condensing units in the front of these somewhere, or what's the mechanical for it?
There'll be no gas service to this project, all electric. I'm still working with mechanical engineer to come up with a appropriate design.
Because those are going to appear somewhere, either on the roof or on the site plan, and then
The mini splits, I'm not certain, but my understanding was mini splits are not going to be especially apparent, and they might even be contained within the building. That doesn't sound plausible. Again, my understanding is they're going to be a minimal impact visually. If I'm wrong, we'll find out when you review for final.
okay.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my question had to do with the driveway, if we have to keep it. Is there a way to increase the amount of landscaping for that driveway so that you don't have random cars pulling in?
Gee, I just don't know how to answer that. I didn't realize that we had to have the driveway.
Yeah,
That came to me
I
in
could
this
try to
meeting.
open that can of worms with the fire
I
department.
don't know if I meant that. I just meant is this the minimum size that they're requiring?
Width.
They've already allowed an exception to their required minimum width. They wanted it 20 feet wide.
Okay, so maybe there's opportunity with the paving to not encourage cars to pull
Right.
in. Okay, those are my questions. Any follow-up questions from board members?
I have one more question. Can you explain how you're going to be lighting the entrances for all the new units for night lighting?
I don't have that level of detail at my fingertips. Don't recall that issue came up, but maybe because I didn't have residential on the ground floor. I'd rather not give you a flip answer.
But don't you have to have a lamp at each door?
Yeah,
Like-
there'll be like a front door down facing lamp at each door, certainly.
And we'll have a low-voltage lighting plan to get people from the sidewalk to the units.
So there will be landscape lighting? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Chair Anderson, one. Did we answer, I know that we talked about the backflow preventer for the landscape, but did we verify that this project did not need a standalone electrical
We
transformer?
haven't verified that yet.
We haven't verified that yet. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we're going to move into comments. So they're here for project design approval. Just a reminder, when they come back for final, they will need their material board with the lighting cut sheet and all your details. So we will be expecting all of that. So I think our comments should be directed towards mass bulk and scale. Does it meet all of the compatibility findings? Do you have any comments regarding details, like wall base or something? And, yeah, all right, board member 6.
Well, yes, if I remember, this project with the parking under was fairly well vetted in the concept. We looked at the neighbor to the north and found that there was no privacy issues because there was a wide driveway and it was even a larger project than this one. We were happy with the the small unit in front for a frontage appeal to the street. We like the architecture. So and the materials were fine. So I think the architecture was well vetted, and its relationship to the neighborhood was found very acceptable. What I'm having a real problem with is the change of program and the I'm going to rely. I don't remember the exact wording, but the ABR, the Architects Board of Review, is responsible for the livability of these projects. I don't know how it's exactly worded, but that's part of our job. And I do not find this project, given the unfortunate narrowness of especially the downsheet entries to all of these units with just a 2-foot overhang and they're just scrunched against the property line. And also, given that the prime mode of transportation is bike, and they're woefully under parked, I have a real problem approving this for under our job is to find livability. So I'm going to be voting no.
Vice Chair Whalen?
I would echo Member Six's comments about our previous acceptance of the mass, bulk, and scale and its neighborhood compatibility and design intent, but I too would have to agree with livability. And I'll go into a couple of details on that point. It seems to me that the great shared places of this dense development, or much more dense development, are the laundry room and the bike room, which are what everybody's going to share. I would like to see more relationship between the laundry room and the landscape area across from it. Right now, it's separated by a seat wall. It seems to me that when I do my laundry, I'm going to sit around, I'm going to sit out there, chat with people. What I'm looking for is a stronger relationship between those public areas. It also seems to me that the bike storage room is incompatible with the site design in that how would I get there if my bike, and knowing myself as a bicyclist, you take the shortest route, which means I'm going to cut through the neighbor's curb cut and down the sidewalk. What I'm trying to say, or if I come through the driveway, then I'm winding through the other pedestrian passages. Again, I would like to see a better relationship between the use of the bike, its destination, its route in and out, and how it weaves itself with the other elements of the design. I think I'm making myself clear here. Perhaps some of the spaces could be reversed and you achieve the same thing. But if it's going to be a bicycle-dependent development, I would really like to see that in the design. Thank you.
Board Member Black?
I would find myself agreeing with those comments. Relative to the landscape as shown, I think it's what is shown here is, it's well planted and well thought out. But as far as the livability issues, I would agree with the comments that have been made.
Board Member Noon?
So I think I'll also agree partially. I think the mass, bulk, and scale, I think we all are in agreement with that. I will reiterate what Board Member Whalen said, rather than, our desire for, some livability standard. I don't know that outweighs your right to design the project you want to design. So I would reiterate what Board Member Whalen is saying and just work on some of those issues that have been brought up. I think that would be important to make it, to help with the concerns of the livability, but I find it, I don't, well, I'm in support of the project, and it would just, again, encourage, maybe work out some of those issues brought up.
Board Member Soffren?
I'm in agreement with the other commissioners. I understand what Commissioner Noon was saying, sort of about your right to design. I'm also conflicted with how this affects the livability of everyone else in the neighborhood, because I can't imagine that all of these residents are going to be bicyclists or walkers. So I think I'd be voting no on this too.
Board Member Anderson?
I'm going to abstain on this vote until I kind of see more information, I think. I think the plans are a little, like you were saying, there's errors in the plans, so it'd be good to just get more clarity on what's happening here.
Okay, so I think that after hearing everyone speak, that maybe we should treat it more as a conceptual review and give them an indefinite continuance back to the full board with comments to, I guess I'm making a motion, with comments. I guess I'd like to hear if any board member would agree with that or what they think, how they feel about that.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
given, I understand this builder's remedy, and that we're here for aesthetics and and livability. So I don't think there's a radical reshuffling of the project to achieve more livability. Again, I think there is to verify that you need the 10-foot at the topmost instead of 8 and 8 along the side setbacks. Go to your arborist, see if you can get closer to the tree with tree root verification, and to provide more space between the front building and the rear building to change and to find more area for bike parking and bike pathing routes, and find a better solution there. So I think we need to thread the needle here to see if there is ways to keep this streamlined in respect to the attitudes of the city for more housing and streamlining. But I think that there's some minor things that can happen here and not upset the process radically. So I think I said enough, yeah.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
And to the board, I do want to be clear that livability, such as density and things like that, is really not the purview of the board. That's a land use issue. And unfortunately, the state has taken away a lot of our ability to regulate that from the city standpoint, unfortunately. So I would certainly hope members of the public would address their state legislature and their representatives to talk about this. But you are an aesthetic board. If for some reason the plans are lacking in detail that you need to make your project design approval, you could continue it so that those specific items appear on the plan so you can give it project design approval. Or you can, if it's enough that they're small enough that you want to be specific, if you want to give it project design approval, then I would suggest that project design approval clearly identifies what it is that you need to see.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Anderson, I would support your notion that this be a virtual conceptual approval and that the design, the project return to us and be continued indefinitely. And I would also challenge the notion that livability is part of our written assignment And we can look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's in the text of our charge. While it may not be defined, the word I'm positive is in there.
Board Member Noon, did you have?
Chair Anderson?
Oh, sorry, hang on.
I think council is saying that we can only look at the aesthetics of this, and that and the items that are lacking and need to be included in the final. So I don't, aesthetically, to jam the small street with overflow parking from this project is an aesthetic issue, is it not?
Could be an argument.
No, I think that might be a stretch. That's regulation of our right-of-way.
Yeah, okay. I think I would like to not buckle under here.
I
And
think Board Member Noon had a comment too. Are you about to make a motion?
yes, I am.
Okay, can you hang on one second?
Yeah.
Board Member Noon, did you have something?
Oh, I don't know that I was going to be able to clean this up any better. Board Member 6, I was wanting to grab a hold of your second comment after the first one, again, I want to support the project. I think as a board, we have to give it PDA. I think they're meeting what they're required and allowed to do from their side. I think we can weigh in on our side and encourage some components of that. I think we're going to see more. I think the comment was made about the lower level, seeing more design and more development on that. I'm encouraged to see that. The landscape is going to get further developed. So all those pieces that will come together in final, we're going to get to see and have control over, or have say in, I guess I should say. I don't think we have any right to try to fuss around about program and livability and to not deny or to deny them PDA today. I think within our purview, we've got to look at the size, mass, bulk, and scale. We all agree with that. We think it's an attractive project, and we've encouraged some places that we would like that from another set of eyes that you could maybe improve. Maybe they relate to livability, but I just, as a board today, I don't know that we can't give it PDA.
Okay. I guess my only other thought in regards to what you all are saying is that there is additional mass with the trash enclosure that did reduce the amount of open space between the two structures. And some of the comments have been program related, but relationships between the uses of the spaces, and it has been reduced. So I think there is some validity in those comments about interaction between and relationships between some of these usable spaces and outdoor spaces. I do hear you, and I think we should, as a board, try to keep these projects moving forward and not hold them up. So that would be my comment. But would you like to make the motion? Or
Painfully,
an attempt?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't suppose I have a chance to add correction to disinformation.
Not right now.
So, this would be indefinite continuance back to the full, well, first, no. This would, we would grant project design approval with the project to return to full board for final with the following comments. That staff would confirm City Council will confirm what livability means to our job as a board, that that all the plans be updated and fully documented land elevations and details, color boards, lighting, exterior lighting, and details as normally required to new comment to verify and locate, verify if needed and locate the electrical transformer, to have fully resolved and documented the visual effects of any mechanical equipment, to explore with the fire department, minimizing the extent and materials required for the fire access, with the idea to provide materials more permeable and harmonizing with the landscape. So I think that's it.
I'll second that. If I could maybe modify a comment, the one about the backflow, could we edit that to be just anything that requires screening? I'm sorry, you said transformer.
Electrical transformer
Yeah.
and.
Can we change that to just anything that would require screening, like a backflow and?
Yes,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
so on the finals, to verify any equipment that requires screening, such as the electrical transformer and backflow preventer.
Yep, thank you. I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, Chair, I would like to add 2 items that the plan as it returns strengthen the physical design relationship between the laundry and the outdoor area and the bicycle path of travel and the bike storage.
I think the nature of the context, I think I would have to have that start with suggest that. We can't demand that, the nature of what we're doing today. Is that okay with you?
Well, I didn't demand anything. I just said the design should strengthen those relationships.
If at all possible. We can't demand that. That's not the nature of this game we're in right now.
Well, we will have the opportunity to say it did or it didn't, right?
Okay, so we can leave it that way.
Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes?
Board Member Six?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. There's no appeal period, or there is appeal period? I'm not sure, but, okay, there is an appeal period. All right, thank you. And that's it for our ABR today. Thank you.